2, 1.
A record list of entries has been received for the derby, in which 70 cars will charge and crash into each other until only one is left moving. The winner will walk away with $1,500. Other drivers who are more interested in reaching a finishing line will be competing in solos, UFO sprints, Formula 500, super sedans, hot rods and stock cars. Solo stars Chris Watson, Todd Wilshire, Craig Boyce and Brian Nixon will compete in a number of races, culminating in two 8-rider features.
Holbrook on the inside got away best.
The Better Hearing Association Newcastle branch and National Park Clubs are competing this weekend for the Challenge Cup. It's an historic event for local croquet, as it's the first time the Cup has been challenged for and the first time two Newcastle clubs have played each other. Being played at the BHA Green at Hamilton North, the Challenge Cup will be decided over 4 doubles and 4 singles matches. Competition continues tomorrow.
The tyranny of distance. Historians will argue that Australia's remoteness to the rest of the world and the vastness of our continent has shaped our rather unique character. But come the 1st of January next year, those distances will be conquered in a rather unique launch to our bicentennial.
In a live television hookup involving 60 to 70 outside broadcast facilities and television stations around Australia, award-winning producer Peter Feynman and his team will produce 4 hours of live television. The broadcast will involve the resources of the Nine Network, the ABC and SBS, and will try to chronicle what Australia will be doing at that time. In other words, a 4-hour slice of Australia live to air.
What we're doing is formulating a picture, and will be in the program, formulating a picture of each state and the character of each state.
Thank you all very, in a taste of what's to come, representatives of the Newcastle media joined in a live television hookup today with their colleagues around Australia to ask questions and find out how the live telecast will work.
2 questions. How much is this costing today, and why the expense and the use of all these resources to launch a launching that won't take place for another 8 months?
That's a good question, of course. Everybody looks at the purse strings, and one of the things we emphasise at all times is that the entire 1988 program, for every dollar spent, we're going to generate $3. That
Although
means that you want
sketchy,
a wonderful
it is known the Hunter Valley will be taking part,
so that it sets
what's
the
seen as a
stage
unique way to launch our 200th birthday celebrations. Paul Nicol is just one of 15 final-year electrical fitter mechanic apprentices with Shortland Electricity out on the job with private contractors in the Hunter region. The 3 months of practical wiring experience gives the apprentices a chance to qualify for their licence to work as electricians when their apprenticeship is finished. It's a novel scheme and one Shortland Electricity hopes will help their apprentices find work. And according to Secretary of the Newcastle branch of the Electrical Contractors Association, David McKenzie, the scheme is also benefiting the industry.
I feel it's going to uplift the basic training of young fellows who normally been tied to workshops. It's expanding their knowledge in the general contracting field, and they can only benefit from it.
Great, 3 months experience, you've got to have that to get your licence.
It was a sight to sadden both the punter and the Newcastle Jockey Club. Empty stands, a bookie barren ledger and a very damp track. Almost 30 millimetres of rain soaked in at Broadmeadow today, making the normally well-drained course unrideable. Chairman of the Newcastle Jockey Club, Terry Smith, says the postponement is a disappointment, but plans are now underway to reschedule the Carlton Newmarket for the 19th of May.
The main factor was that it didn't look like it was going to lift. We could have raced, I feel, had it lifted at about 10 o'clock and the sun come out and we, no more rain, but it just has rained and rained, and by 11:30, 11:45, it was finito.
Big disappointment today. Of course, today is perhaps one of 3 big feature events the Jockey Club puts on.
Yeah.
What sort of loss are you looking at?
Well, probably between $50,000 and $70,000 for the day. It's one of our 3 feature days, and we'd be looking for that to fill in the, for the year. That's what we look for, feature days. We put a lot into promotion. Our sponsors, who are quality sponsors, Foster's, they give us a lot of effort, and we try to give it back. But unfortunately, today, Mother Nature's done us in cold.
So what are the plans now?
Starts at 10:30.
It's a double-edged sword. While farmers throughout the region are hoping for some more falls of rain to boost their winter pastures, organisers of the Tocal Small Farm Field Days are hoping for fine weather, at least for 3 days anyway. On show this year are a record number of exhibitors, including everything from the latest in water tanks and roofing to one of rural Australia's growth industries, beekeeping. Innovation, as much a part of farming life as the land itself, is a central theme in this year's field days. Products like the now famous barbed wire roller designed and perfected by Tanambit man Gordon Bartleson, and this feed trough designed by Denman farmer Gil Wetmore and his partner, a simple idea now becoming a familiar sight in sale yards throughout New South Wales and soon in Victoria. Once again, the Farm Inventor Award has attracted a high standard of entry, like this sawhorse invented by Carl Passfield of Toukley, and this paddock press by Alan Tickle of Dungog, invaluable for splitting logs and bending steel back into shape. The innovation exhibits like the New South Wales Deer Association and Birrabooka Beats from Musselbrook. Managing Director Michael Scarf kept busy today sharing some of Birrabooka's delicacies. As well, the now familiar Angora and dairy goats take a prominent role at the field days, and it goes without saying, there are plenty of kids to help entertain the kids. Field days provide a valuable chance for the Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Lands and Forestry Commission to help the farmer, especially the small landholder, improve his property and produce.
Well, it's the only event of its type in the Hunter, and there's been such a proliferation of small hobby farms, new farmers in the Hunter, Central Coast, Sydney areas, that really there's no other facility that offers this educational opportunity.
Cottage industry is also on show this year with everything from mohair crafts from the Gables and Macbeth's mohair at Burrell to a now less well-known trade, whip making. Jimmy Hill from McMaster's Beach took over the family business from his father, and he started it back in 1925. The weekend promises a record turnout with something for everyone. It's well worth a visit. The Tocal Small Farm Field Days, particularly for the farmers of the future.
This is a story about building a better mousetrap. In this case, Macy Mining Services is building specialised plugs and sockets to connect high voltage wires with underground equipment. The company makes the fittings out of solid manganese bronze, turned to precision designs at its Warners Bay factory. The company has been improving its fittings for the past 5 years and caught the attention of the federal government, which this year awarded the company more than $130,000 for research. The plugs and sockets are of vital importance in improving underground safety in mines.
The worst possible contingency is that a loose connection could cause an electrical explosion within the units, and without them being flame-proof and explosion-proof, that electrical explosion could penetrate outside the confines of the unit and create a total explosion within the colliery itself.
So, the company employs 19 staff but expects to increase this figure if it's able to export its latest products. The industry values the Macy innovation because it reduces both breakages and equipment downtime. Monaco.
Princess Grace set up a library because she was very interested in Irish literature, and the library has been operating for 2 years now. It holds a special conference every year, and it invites 40 scholars from around the world to share ideas and to advise the library on how to establish itself as a centre for students.
And you've been lucky enough this year to be invited.
That's right, yes, and it's a great honour, and I'm very, very pleased to be able to go. There's 3 Australians who've been invited, and I've been invited not only to give a lecture but also to sit on the committee that will advise the library.
Do you think Australian students in the future may use this library as a reference centre?
Oh, definitely. A lot of Australians have an Irish background or an Irish heritage. A lot of Australians are interested in Irish literature, and then, you know, who wouldn't want to go to Monaco?
Sounds very exciting. Can you tell me why?
The number 2 ore loader on the Hunter River Channel was decommissioned 12 months ago. Its grab had already been removed. Today, BHP riggers were in the process of removing the loader jib when something went wrong. A huge mobile Lima crane was lowering the section to wharf level when it suddenly buckled. The jib and the loader section toppled into the harbour. Fortunately, no one was hurt. Divers this afternoon put markers on the submerged section, and attempts may be made tonight to lift it out of the water.
Theatre Sports began as a series of dramatic games to help young aspiring actors work on their improvisation skills. Its history can be traced back to age-old theatre pastimes, but the games have been modified and new ones invented for the 1980s. With less than 1 minute to prepare, teams like Slate Aches and Yabby Pumps indulge in the adventures of space jump, expert double figures and death in a minute. Not only do they perform before a crowd of spectators, but also the panel of unbiased judges.
They're looking for stories which don't go anywhere, that just set up a situation and don't progress with a beginning, a middle and an end. So they're looking for good storytelling. They're looking for entertainment.
Theatre Sports has been so successful as a television series, the new craze is now spreading across the country. Newcastle's 2 till 5 Theatre is the only youth company to secure a franchise and adapt it especially for Novocastrians.
Our costumes are different. Our judging setup is different.
So it's actually Newcastle's theatre sports?
It is Newcastle's theatre sports, and we think it's very important that it be so, because we firmly believe that Newcastle has a vibrant theatre identity, and we want to reinforce that. I mean, we don't need to copy Sydney.
Theatre sports begins fortnightly at the Newcastle Workers Club this Sunday night.
Final bids from those companies interested in leasing the floating dock will be collected by the state government in the next few weeks. Barley's has a short-term lease and recently completed the repainting of the HMAS Torres. Today, the Australian government survey vessel, the Cape Pillar, was lifted, ready for a major refit valued at more than $400,000. While most of this work will be carried out by Barley Engineering, some small onshore repair work will be done by Ullman Engineering.
We've got a firm commitment to put in a positive bid for the floating dock. We've been very interested for a period. We've been doing quite a review of the profitability of the dockyard for a while. And in particular, the floating dock, I feel that a private industry could make it a viable proposition.
This is the first time Ullman has done ship repair work in Newcastle. Formed in 1928, it previously specialised in fabrication and machinery work. It's retained some key personnel and is negotiating with unions, in particular the painters and dockers, so that it can assure continuity at the dock if it wins the lease. The state government has not decided when it will call public tender, but has indicated a decision should be made by June.
For artists Helia Larson and Durrani Lewis, their retrospective exhibition features 147 pieces, designed and crafted over the past 2.5 decades. The intricate works have been a dual labour of love, featuring jewellery as an artistic form of body language.
We work very closely together. We build on each other's ideas and we share our skills, and when we have a bad moment, the other one picks up. I think we complement each other's weaknesses, and I think that we build on each other's strengths.
I think our work is meant to be worn. It is not just to be looked at. It's tactile. We feel it is. It's very important about jewellery. It must be touched as well as being seen.
The couple have both made a significant contribution to Australian craft. Durrani became chairperson of the Australian Council Crafts Board during the late 1970s, while Helia, a New South Wales University lecturer, established the jewellery department at Sydney's College of Arts. This exhibition will venture overseas, touring Vienna, Germany and then Paris, where the couple will be the first Australians to exhibit such work. Also on display are 64 watercolours selected from the gallery's private collection. The exhibition begins with one of the earliest known colonial portraits, painted in 1814 by Richard Reid. Traditional watercolour exhibitions aren't common at the Regent Gallery, but their historic significance can be seen through the artist's eyes, with early impressions of both Sydney and Newcastle harbours. Both exhibitions are on display until the end of June. Dr. Ritchie was in Newcastle last night, addressing a conference dinner at City Hall. Before 250 guests, he spoke of the coal industry's history in the region and the need for better relations between management and employees for the future. On the subject of the proposed deal between a Japanese coal firm and an Australian consortium to lower the price of coal to $41 per tonne, Dr. Ritchie says the offer was inevitable.
This deal, I believe, is the appropriate price in this market. What we have to do in Australia is recognise that we are living in an international market and we have to learn to live in that marketplace. We cannot survive on high inflation rates and high costs in Australia when the world out there is not living under those conditions and is not going to pay us to enjoy that luxury. And that's the real problem we have to face.
As Executive Director of the Coal Association, Dr Ritchie believes the immediate future looks grim for the mining industry.
The price fall in Australian dollar terms is very large. It's $11 Australian, and that's going to make it very difficult for the industry.
One of the mines involved in the Australian side of it is in the Hunter Valley. What's going to happen to the other mines, the less efficient mines that just can't keep up with those sort of prices?
Well, it's going to be a matter of waiting and seeing. The prices come into effect from the 1st of April. It will be some months before the full impact of those prices is felt in the industry. In the meantime, the coal companies will desperately try to get their costs reduced, and that will mean further approaches to government for government cuts in charges, and it will mean further discussions with the unions to look at reducing costs in the coal mines.